Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're diving straight into Lesson 1 of the absolute classic vocabulary builder, 504 Absolutely Essential Words. But hey, we aren't just going to look at this as some dry, standard list of terms to memorize. No way. We're going to frame these first 12 essential words as incredibly powerful tools for your mind. Because if you want to communicate with clarity, precision, and, a bit of style, you need the right materials. And that's exactly what we're gathering today. There's this brilliant thought from the 19th century clergyman Henry Ward Beecher. He said, "All words are pegs to hang ideas on." I absolutely love this quote because it really emphasizes that words aren't just arbitrary letters jammed together on a page. They're literally the structural foundation of human thought. If you don't have the right peg, you simply can't hang up the idea. The thought just falls to the floor completely unexpressed. So today we're going to install 12 brand new, sturdy pegs right into your mental wall. Here is our roadmap for today. 1. Pegs for your ideas. 2. The 12 essential words. 3. Words in action. 4. Spotlight on abandon. And 5. Test your mastery. Part 1. Pegs for your ideas. Thematic chunkin. Moving right along to Part 2. The 12 essential words, traits, and feelings. So, to really grasp these concepts, instead of just staring at an alphabetical list, which, let's be honest, gets boring fast, we're going to group our 12 words into manageable themes. This is going to help your brain build instant associations, starting with human traits. Our very first word is tact. Tact is simply the ability to say the right thing. But actually, it's more than just being correct. It's about the social grace of protecting someone's feelings. The source material gives us a great example of an ant who never hurts anyone's feelings because she always uses tact. It's that careful, thoughtful approach to conversation that makes people really admire you. Now let's see how this builds by comparing two totally different human traits. On one hand, we have a highly negative emotion, being jealous, which means wanting what someone else has or being afraid the one you love might prefer someone else. Think of a jealous widow hiring a detective, right? Now contrast that with our next word, gallant, which is a highly positive, brave trait, often associated with showing deep respect. Picture a pilot who swears a gallant oath to save his buddy, or a knight entering a contest. It's all about noble bravery versus insecure desire. Next up on our traits is keen. And wow, this is a remarkably versatile word. It means sharp, eager, intense, or sensitive. You can use it literally, like describing a butcher's keen knife slicing effortlessly through meat, or a dog's keen sense of smell. But you can also use it figuratively to describe a student whose keen mind pleases all his teachers. It is just a fantastic peg for hanging the idea of intense sharpness. Okay, shifting gears a bit, let's group our next set around the theme of emptiness or lack. Here we find words related to difficult or empty states. Abandon means to desert or leave without planning to come back, like a soldier abandoning friends in battle. Then we have vacant, meaning empty or not filled. Think of a vacant lot where someone plans to build a house. Next is unaccustomed, meaning not used to something, like a person from Alaska being totally unaccustomed to Florida's heat. And finally, hardship, which is a burden or difficulty that's really hard to bear, much like the hardships Abraham Lincoln faced before becoming a champion. Here, we're contrasting two very different types of societal standing and commitment. On the left, we have a bachelor, which is simply a man who is not married. He has zero binding matrimonial ties. But on the right, we have an oath, which is the ultimate binding tie. It's a solemn promise that something is true, or sometimes a curse. The president takes an oath of office, and a witness takes an oath in court to tell the whole truth. To round out our 12 essential words, we've got two highly practical terms related to navigating the modern world. Data refers to facts and information. For example, without all the data, you simply cannot do a complex math problem or finish a report for the FBI. And qualify means to become fit or show that you are truly able to do something. You might try to qualify for a vacant job, or you might need to be over a certain height to qualify as a policeman. That brings us to Part 3, Words in Action, My Brother the Gentleman. Memorizing definitions is great, but reading them in a narrative is what actually cements them in your mind for good. Before we dive into our story, take a look at this amusing illustration directly from our source material. We see a man peering into a completely empty room with just a single radiator. Based on our 12 words, can you guess which of our new vocabulary words is suggested by this? Give it a second. If you guessed vacant because the room is entirely empty and not filled, you hit the nail on the head. Keep that visual in your mind. The story kicks off by immediately giving us pegs for our ideas, drawing on the legendary tale of Sir Walter Raleigh, who famously spread his cloak over a muddy puddle to save Queen Elizabeth from a hardship. Our narrator tells us about his brother, Kenny, describing him as a bachelor with a keen interest in history. Kenny wanted to qualify as a nobleman, a man of tact and good breeding. Notice how seamlessly the words hardship, qualify, tact, bachelor, and keen are woven right into his character setup. So, Kenny wants to replicate this historical chivalry in the modern day. And his grand opportunity arises on public transit. The text tells us he decided to abandon his subway seat in favor of a woman standing nearby. We see our words in action right here as he makes this gallant gesture, completely deserting his spot for someone else. But of course, no good deed goes unpunished, right? The narrative climaxes in a hilarious misunderstanding. The woman, who was unaccustomed to such generous treatment, happily accepted the seat. However, her jealous boyfriend totally misread the situation, assuming Kenny was flirting. The boyfriend swore an oath under his breath. The narrator humorously notes he doesn't have the data on how many men get into trouble for a gallant gesture, but it's gotta be high. Poor Kenny is left totally bewildered, just pointing at the now vacant seat. Part 4. Spotlight on Abandon. Time for a fascinating trivia nugget. Textbooks often gloss over the history of words, but knowing where a word comes from makes it infinitely easier to remember. Let's trace the etymological history of just one of these words to see how language evolves. The word abandon actually has a rich French background. Originally, it meant to put under another's control. You can kind of see how that evolved into the early English meaning of to give up. Eventually, it settled into the modern definition we use today, to desert or leave without planning to come back. But here's the mind-blowing part. Our source points out that abandon is related to the word ban, and if you dig into a good dictionary, you'll discover deep connections to words like bandit and contraband. So the next time you use the word abandon, you're tapping into centuries of linguistic history. Finally, Part 5. Test your mastery. We've explored definitions by grouping them into themes. We've read them in an entertaining story about a misunderstood bachelor on a subway, and we've dug into the ancient French history of a single word. So now, it's time to lock in that knowledge. I want you to actively recall the definitions we discussed. Which of our 12 words represents a binding promise that something is true? Is it abandon, keen, oath, or vacant? Think back to the courtroom witness, or the president on Inauguration Day. The correct answer, for sure, is oath. I'm going to leave you with this final puzzle to solve on your own, drawn directly from the exercises in the source text. Because he was a blank, the movie actor was invited to many parties. Which of our 12 essential words fits best here? Solving these blanks in context is the exact proof you need that you now have 12 brand new pegs to hang your ideas on. Think about how learning just these first 12 words expands the precision with which you can describe the people and situations around you. So I have to ask, what ideas will you hang on these new pegs today?